now we are going to speak about the sixth customer of France in our fashion industry, which is the USA. So we are very glad to welcome for this Edwina Culego, who is a Vice President International Men's Fashion of Informa Market. Edwina, first of all, thank you very much for waking up so early because there is a big difference of time. And as well, we are very pleased to welcome Amy Giaraputo, who is International Business Development Manager. As well, thank you for this early time in the US. So let's speak about the US, the situation of the market. Up to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone from New York. Amy and I are up early, but we're very happy to be here and to share updates on the US market. We would like to thank Anne-Laure, to Hervé from the French Federation and Promas for having us. And yeah, we'll get started. We'll get right into it. And feel free to ask questions. We're here to share as much as we can. Amy, do you have the presentation? Oh, by the way, I have a small cold. So if I break to cough, I'm still with you. I'm just trying to get rid of this cold.
And I'll jump in if that happens too. Okay, I will share my screen so we can look at the presentation.
Awesome.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so we are Informa Markets Fashion. We are the leading fashion trade show producer in the US. So many of you are familiar with the brands Coterie, Magic, Project. We are all now run by Informa Markets Fashion, which happens to be a British company. So hello to our friends from the UK. We are a conglomerate of fashion trade shows that have been acquired over the years. And so now we're all one big happy family, and we produce shows throughout the US. We also have a sister show in Tokyo called Project Japan. If you can go back, Amy, to this slide. Well, no, this is the one after. So just a quick update before we jump into the specifics of the show and the US market. Our mission is always to drive positive change within the fashion industry. Obviously, the past couple of years have been very challenging for you guys, I'm sure. For us as a trade show, we had to shut down our events during COVID. And so we were pivoting into digital and virtual, I'm sure as many of you have. And we can say that we're really happy to be back doing what we love, connecting the industry, welcoming the buyers back, allowing them to discover product, to discover new brands, and also global and international brands. So we're focusing now more than ever on ethical practices, highlighting brands that are sustainable, that are taking the necessary steps to create responsibly. That is something that will come up throughout this presentation. Social empowerment is also important from a fashion perspective, and environmental stewardship. Next slide, please. So a few stats. Obviously, we have a group of brands, retailers, manufacturers, solution providers that attend our event. We focus on women's categories, men's apparel, footwear, accessories, home and gift and beauty are some other emerging categories within our events. We have close to 250,000 active industry contacts, including the buyers, press, manufacturers, and suppliers. There are over 180 countries represented by brands and buyers at our events. So they're truly global. I hear this a lot. There are brands from the UK or maybe brands from France that come expecting to see nothing but American buyers, and they end up meeting buyers from South America or from Asia. And so it's truly a global event, and you can expect to see retailers from all over the world. The top priority of almost 90% of our buyers are meeting new partners. So the buyers are there to obviously do business with brands that they see, that they've done business with in the past, to do reorders or to see new collections. But it's really about discovery for buyers. They're always asking us, what are the new trends? What are the new brands? What's coming in from Europe? What can surprise us? What can I bring into my store that will add something unique? And so it's all about discovering and meeting new partners and making connections. We have over 80% buying power. So a good thing to note is that the retailer representation that comes to our events are decision makers. Many of them are CEOs, presidents, VPs, which means they have decision-making power and buying power. So we're always striving as a trade show to make sure that we're bringing in decision makers. The junior buyers are great and they're always there to assist, but we really focus on making sure that we have the decision makers on the show floor. Next slide, please, Amy. Okay, so this is probably what most of you all are interested in hearing is what has been happening in the US market. The US market today has obviously bounced back from a global pandemic with a fresh approach to driving business. So I noticed that our friends from the UK mentioned that the greater group of retailers that attend their events are boutique and specialty. Same thing for us. We do have our department stores who you all love, Nordstrom, Neiman, Saks, Bergdorf Goodman, for example, but we're seeing a significant growth in boutique and specialty business, and obviously online business is the fastest growing category. So as of now, and these are approximate numbers, we have about 38,400 plus stores in the US, with 30,000 of them, no surprise, being women's because we love to shop, and about 8,400 being men's stores. So a few notes on what's happening in the US market from a fashion perspective. Retailers are diversifying their lifestyle offerings across apparel, footwear, accessories, home, gift, and beauty. Merci in Paris is a perfect example. It's a lifestyle store. You can go to Merci to buy fashion. You can buy home products. You can probably find apothecary and beauty. There's now a cafe and a library there. And so we're also seeing that trend, not only in boutique stores, but also in department stores where they want to keep the consumers in their stores for as long as possible. And it's all about creating an experience. So you will see collaborations, you may see a pop-up bar or a significant drop that they're doing to encourage people to come to shop and to stay. And so the lifestyle offering is something that we're seeing across multiple stores, and we're also diversifying our offering as a trade show. So we are building home, gift, and beauty, apothecary. There'll be a grooming lounge and a barber shop at our upcoming men's show, for example. So we're always looking to respond to what we're seeing in the industry. Online retailers are the fastest growing segment of retail, and so that's a big focus for us, getting Matches.com, making sure that we have ASOS, a huge representation from Amazon, for example. So making sure that we're not only touching the physical stores, but getting the online representation is key. So 78% of surveyed retailers prefer to discover new brands in person. I think we all have had some Zoom fatigue. We're probably tired of seeing lookbooks and line sheets virtually. And so we have received a positive response on coming back to live events, and not only trade shows, but pop-ups. I'm leaving for Miami tonight to go to Art Basel, where a lot of fashion brands are partnering with artists and are showing their collections in a unique way. And so I think that we're all tired of only working from our computers. And so we're seeing a lot of live events bounce back. Finally, wholesale is providing brands with stability and the ability to scale across an omni-channel distribution strategy. During the pandemic, many brands had to pivot to direct to consumer. Many brands who didn't have their own online store, for example, decided to launch one. And so we are seeing a growth in direct to consumer. We're seeing growth in brands focusing on social media, but we're also seeing a lot of stability in partnering with boutique and specialty stores primarily, and that wholesale is still driving the business in a unique way. And so the omni-channel approach, basically brands that are able to diversify into having wholesale channels, their own retail channels, their online channels, selling on social media, those are the ones that are really taking up market share and being successful. Next slide, please.
Okay, so I can talk to this slide. As Edwina was mentioning, the retail landscape, information technology technology and the shift in consumers' priorities is really important. Fashion brands are partnering with really experienced people in IT on the West Coast and in New York, and really upping their game in terms of information technology and the omni-channel approach. And as Edwina also mentioned, concept stores. When we were in Paris, this was back in May, we went to see Merci, and that was a perfect example of what that lifestyle focus can be, and how we, retailers really are trying to give an experience to the consumer. Department stores. So this has been going on even before the pandemic, and things have kind of shaked out now in the United States and settled. There were bankruptcies and closures. The good thing I would say is department stores, it always used to be, how can I get into a department store? Brands would ask. There's kind of been an equalizer in terms of which channels are the most important. And department stores, yes, have their place and they're important, but all of the other omni channels, online, the specialty stores, they're all kind of equal now, and which is great for mid-sized brands or smaller brands that are trying to crack the market. And as mentioned, the online retailers are really the fastest growing segment. Specialty stores, which is great news actually, and we didn't know how this would develop during the pandemic, but they can be really important partners to smaller brands. But in terms of being squeezed by unfair terms, that can happen when you start working with a department store, and their gross margin is the most important thing. And with specialty stores, you can find really great partners that will provide you with information of how you're doing, and they really know their market. There's flexibility. Some of them, many of them, have really good social media followings, in order to manage that drop culture. And the ones that are doing the best, again, are the ones that have that omni-channel approach. Many people will go into a store and that'll be like the billboard, the actual store. And then they might leave and research online and end up buying online, but the store is an important part of the equation here, and getting that customer closeness. So department stores, I would say department stores, getting in a department store is also a nice way, because they have so many doors in the many locations in the United States, of testing and seeing first online where your product is selling by analyzing the sellout data, which is something that's great that we can do, and see where business is really good by location, and then go into those stores with the department stores. And there's flexibility in exiting and going in and out. I would say be careful. Sometimes when a department store really loves a brand, they might expand even a little too quickly. Nordstrom kind of does this, and then you've kind of gotten out there a little bit too quickly. And if things don't go so well, or you don't sell as well right away, there's inventory, that can be an issue. So it's always good to start small and then branch out to other locations. The importance of e-commerce, we can't stress this enough. This is really the growth channel. It's where Gen Z and the millennial generation are shopping, and everybody else basically. And the data collection and algorithms are so advanced that now, if you are a shopper who, for example, likes to buy cowl necks, like what I'm wearing today, they are able to now go to, and when you're looking at another brand, have that come up. So things are getting crazy in terms of data collection and what can be then suggested to you online. So also fashion brands tend to resist Amazon still in order to retain the control over price and image. Fashion evolution. This is important, especially since the pandemic, when we were all isolated, and we wanted to feel a connection, and we're humans and emotional. So this is quite normal when we were isolated that this was taken away from us. So the brands and the retailers that speak to their tribes and know themselves, they're the ones that are thriving. As mentioned, consumers really care now about the world and the environment, environmental impact on that. And sustainability is really important. But customers want to buy what delights them. So any brand that really can pique their interest and has something different and special about them. The US market, yes, it's very competitive and difficult, but it's also accessible in the same way that if a brand really has something special about them, that they can thrive in this market.
Yes, I wanted to really quickly chime in on the size of the US market. We do get this question a lot. Well, the shows are so big. The US fashion market is the largest one. How do we navigate? And yes, it can be very intimidating because it is competitive and you have strong brands that are in the market. But again, uniqueness is what a lot of retailers are looking for. They want to be the ones to say, I launched this French brand in my store for the first time, and now they're growing and you're seeing them everywhere. And so it's all about, for us as a trade show, it's about creating neighborhoods within our events, making sure that we have areas that are easily identifiable. So if a buyer is coming in and they're looking for denim, they know exactly where to go. If they're looking for contemporary clothing, we have a specific section for that. If it's jewelry, they're looking for accessories. And so the merchandising continues to be a key focus for us. Because it is a large event, because we represent a large market, because we have tons of retailers on the floor that are looking for a specific product, we're working on ways to help them navigate the show in an easier way. We also wanted to touch on successfully entering the US market, some of the key things to consider. Many of you probably already know this, but it's something that we like to go over. It's also great for Q&A, so feel free to ask questions about this. French fashion is very prestigious. And so from a US perspective, I think that we get a lot of positive reactions from the growth of French brands within our events. The buyers always want to know what's coming from France, what's new within all categories, whether that's accessories, footwear, apparel. And so we're seeing growth thanks to our rock star Camille, who's on the call today, who's been working with us on developing French brands in the US. It is definitely a category or country that is sought after. So kudos to the French brands for always bringing great and innovative product. Keys to success. This is all about finding your voice as a brand. As I mentioned, the US is the largest trade show or the largest fashion market in the world. And so it is competitive, and being unique and being able to tell your story in a quick and concise way is a positive thing. US retailers seemed, compared to others in the world, seem to be a bit more casual. So feel free to grab them as you see them on the show floor, having a conversation, really sharing what your brand is all about. That is something that's expected. You do have some retailers that are on the shy side and a bit more apprehensive, but generally, it seems to be a market where people find it easy to make connections. Have a story that is clearly communicated. So knowing who you are, being able to tell what stores you sell in, your price points. Obviously, it's a busy show, lots of traffic, many things happening all the time. So being able to be concise and clear is key. Focus on sell out more than sell in. So knowing what your numbers look like in other stores, right? Being able to speak to the styles that are best sellers, to product that other retailers are doing really well with. The numbers that your retailers that you're currently partnering with are selling in is key. Communicating product knowledge. and your brand story with retail partners is also important. We do get a lot of buyers that stop me or Amy at the show and say, Edwina, I'm looking for sustainable product, or I'm looking for brands that are women owned. And so now we're getting specific requests, which is something in my 12 years experience I haven't seen, where buyers are coming in specifically focused on a brand that has a certain ethos, a certain DNA that's made in a unique way. And so we're getting more specific, which is interesting. And as a result, we as a trade show are focusing on getting more unique brands that have a story. So the delivery cadence, obviously the traditional fashion calendar is not what it was before. And so I would say that we had a stricter schedule in terms of delivery. So take these these guidelines by a grain of salt. We're seeing a lot of immediate business happening on the show floor. This is something that keeps coming up, where you have buyers that are as impatient as their customers and they want a 4 to 6 week delivery window. So buy now, wear now is something that a lot of the buyers in the US are looking for. You will find stores that are coming into your booth and specifically asking for immediate product. It's totally fine if you don't do business that way. If you stick to your spring and fall seasons, that is all good. It's just all about having transparency and managing expectations as you're having dialogue with buyers about delivery. So if we look at February, which is our women's event, Coterie, coming up, fall product delivery will be in stores around August and September. And then for our September event, you'll be showing spring products that will be delivered in January or March. So that is, again, the kind of approximate delivery window. But again, things have changed a lot. Pricing. We stress on this a lot. Making things as easy as possible for the US buyer is key. They want ease. And so having your pricing in landed US dollars, making sure that you're including duty, tariffs, freight, anything that may affect the pricing is key. And so making sure that you're repricing your product accordingly is key. The buyers want to make sure that they're getting their product and that there are no surprises in the end. Most French brands do this really well. We don't see a lot of issues from France with this, but it's always important to note. And then conducting a competitive pricing analysis every season, 2 times a year, is key. When you come to our events, it's important to see who your neighbors are, who you're merchandised around, even going into retail stores in New York if you happen to be here for the event, and looking at your competitors in the market. Who would you sit with in retail? These are questions that may come up from retailers. Well, who can we merchandise your product with? Do you do well next to denim, or do you sit well next to accessories? And so knowing who you are in the market and making sure that your pricing is adjusted is key. Some brands ask us, well, if I increase my pricing, is that something that is going to be a challenge for me? I think for us, it's all about transparency. Buyers know that there are fluctuations with currency. And so as long as you're communicating why your prices are changing or why you're making adjustments, I think that buyers are keen on knowing what's going on so that they can make adjustments on their end. Agents and showrooms. We get this question a lot. Well, I feel like I can't come to New York and do your event if I don't have an agent. I need to be set up with a showroom first. I'm actually going to tap Amy to cover this point because she has worked as a showroom. She's also worked in wholesale for Diesel for many years. And so she has a lot of knowledge when it comes to the wholesale perspective and being a brand. So Amy, why don't you take it away?
Sure. Yeah, so my background is I've always been on the brand side, and I've been with Italian companies, so larger Italian companies, but also, as Edwina mentioned, I worked for a startup showroom, and we had Italian brands, US brands, but mostly Italian brands that were trying to come really, some of them were larger brands, but it was their initial step into the US market. So I have a lot of experience with that. and understand what you're going through, basically. And I would say, regarding agents and showrooms, because it is like the #1 question that we get, and we can make suggestions or help, but I would say when you come to the show, it is an order writing show, our shows, and that's of course very important. But I would say another really important thing is you are on the show floor with all these other brands that I remember when I was on the brand side, thinking when I was at the shows, I never have this opportunity to be able to talk to other brands. And, you know, you're always in your own world, dealing with your own brand and talking to retailers. So you can get so much information when you are at the show. It was just, I just felt like there would be so much great information that I would learn when I was at a show. And the people that I needed to kind of come at the right moment would kind of come in. Like if you're thinking about it, it kind of happens. So I don't think you have to rush into finding a showroom or an agent the first time you are at the show. I think it's a good idea to talk to people and learn about who might be right for you, because it's kind of like a relationship. You have to make sure that it is the right agent or the right showroom for your brand, because they all are very different and do different things. So the most important thing is knowing who you are first in any relationship. So it's like same thing with a brand. What is your brand? What do you represent? And what other brands do you align with in the US market? So which brands do showrooms represent? Do you fit with them? Are you of the same category, or are they oversaturated and maybe they don't need another brand like you? Or is there something unique about your brand that is a great fit that sits with the other brands and that the same buyers will be buying that category? What services are offered and what does it cost? This can really vary. So don't feel like any question is stupid that you're asking a showroom or an agent. Is there a retainer fee? Is there a commission? If it seems expensive, ask them exactly what you're getting for this cost. And are they willing to nurture your brand and give you feedback? So that's just using your intuition. How do you feel about, interview a number of showrooms or agents? They should be available to you to give you information and feedback when you need it, because they are your point person in this country. So you should have that really nice, close relationship with whomever you choose.
Okay, event preparation. Your booth is your billboard. So obviously this is your chance to show who you are. I will say that brands that invest in beautiful designs that are able to bring in elements, and this doesn't have to be something that is costly. Many, many years ago, you would see trade shows and there'd be huge booths being built, thousands of dollars going into it. It could be as simple as a rug or a plant, or bringing in framed images from your showroom, or anything that represents your brand. And so brands that have that additional touch, that are able to merchandise their space with additional furniture or any kind of aesthetics that highlight the brand and make it feel and look like a showroom, are always the ones that do well. Which retailers do you want to target and why? This is really important, and this is obviously something that we can support with, but understanding the US market, buying behaviors, the differences between the East Coast and the West Coast, the Midwest, that could be a whole other seminar that we do. But knowing where you align with your brand is key. I think the easiest step for that would be to find a competitor that has maybe a similar aesthetic to your brand, if you can, in the US, and see what stores they sell to. A lot of brands have their stockist list, which is basically a list of stores that they sell to on their websites, to help their customers find them and to allow their customers to go into stores and try on their product. This is a great target list for a brand entering the US market for the first time. It's okay to go on other brands' websites to see different stores, especially specialty and boutique stores that you may not have known of or may not have been on your radar. And so knowing which types of stores you would do well in is key. I saw a question in the chat that says, what is the best from Jessica? What is the best way to reach buyers of department stores before the trade show? Great question. It definitely requires work. We can send you a list of registered stores so we can tell you Nordstrom is coming, Bergdorf Goodman will be there, Saks Fifth Avenue has registered to come to the show. But we are not able to share the buyer's contact information. That is work that has to be done on the brand side. LinkedIn is a great place to start. I also encourage brands to call their buying offices. Macy's, Nordstrom, they all have an office number that all of us can Google. And it's as simple as, hi, I'm a brand from France, and I love your store, and I'd like to know who your accessories buyer is. Sometimes they'll give you a name and an email. Sometimes they'll give you a name, but with that name, you can find them on LinkedIn. You can find them on Instagram. You can try to get their email, send them information, let them know that you're going to be in New York or Las Vegas and that you're really looking forward to meet with them. Tell them why you think your brand would do well in their store. That is another way to get eyes. Sometimes retailers will see your emails and they may not respond, but if they see you at the show, they may recognize your brand name and come into your booth. So it's all about making sure that you're reaching out as much as possible before the show. Department stores, define which tier. So we all know that Macy's and Dillard's are on a more affordable price point compared to Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom, Saks and Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman being on the higher end side. So again, understanding the differences between the stores, doing the research, going on their websites, looking at what brands they carry before you come into the market is key. Obviously, sending out invitations and booking appointments ahead of time. Informa Market shows are order writing shows. Amy mentioned this. A lot of shows, depending on where you go in the world, differ in terms of the style. Some shows are all about connections. Retailers may come, shake hands, view your collection, grab your line sheets, and follow up with you. At our shows in the US, you can expect to see orders being written 5 minutes after a buyer meets you, or maybe 20 minutes after they've seen your collection. It is no surprise that a buyer is ready and willing to actually write an order on site. As our friends from the UK mentioned, it is a bonus if you're able to write an order your first time, if you're able to cover your expenses. We do tell brands to come and to be invested in the market for at least 3 shows. So if you happen to come for the first time and write an order, that's great. But your first couple of shows are all about making connections and communicating who you are as a brand. Consistency is key. And so we do recommend at least 3 shows to get started. We understand that that can be costly. It is an investment, but it's all about staying in the market. Some buyers will see you once and see if you're returning the next season to make sure that you're a stable brand, that you're in market, that you're still in business, and they may, as a result, write an order the second or third time. I'm going to pause for questions, and Laura, I do have more slides to cover on the specific shows, but I see that some of them are coming in. And so if we want to pause for some questions, and Laura, if you suggest that we run through the different shows quickly, I'm happy to do that as well, but I want to be mindful of everyone's time.
First of all, thank you, both of you, for this great presentation. So should we take some more question? I think that I recommend payment rate and I think that actually more or less we answered to a question.
Okay,
so I will go through, but very shortly, regarding the different trade show.
Yes.
I'm just going to say one word in French in the meantime. Je voudrais vous préciser effectivement le timing des différents salons proposés par le groupe Informa Market. Nous avons notamment le 23 et 24 janvier Project à New York. Et du 13 au 15 février, Project à Las Vegas, qui sont tous les deux des salons subventionnés par à hauteur de 50% par Promas International et le défi. Et nous avons également le salon Coterie à New York du 21 au 23 février qui est subventionné par le défi avec la Fédération du féminin à hauteur de 50%. Je précise également, je vous ai mis dans le chat, très important, le contact de Camille Descolonges, qui prend un grand soin des marques françaises, aussi bien sur les différentes informations si vous aviez des questions que sur les inscriptions et autres. Et je vous rappelle que les inscriptions ont lieu maintenant. To keep going, please, Edwina, it's all yours.
Wonderful. We'll keep going, and I see some more questions. We'll cover those at the end. Obviously, when you come to the events, it's all about brand exposure. It's about connecting with buyers. We have free lunch for the buyers. We have happy hours and cocktails. We're making sure that buyers are staying on the show floor for as long as possible. So you will see a lot of this happening on the show floor. You see Katy Perry here. Our events are more than just trade. We also provide education, insights. We know that celebrities are a big draw. So making sure that we have representation that will get buyers to come to the events in Las Vegas or New York is key. And that is something that we will continue doing. So expect to see a lot of your favorite influencers, celebrities walking the shows, fashion directors, press, etc. I'm moving through this quickly. Digital marketing, I won't cover this. We all know that we spend a lot of time on our phones. And so back in the day, you would see a big book with a list of all the brands coming and exhibiting at the show. Now we've transferred that into an app. So every buyer, every brand that attends our show has to download the app where we share a lot of information about what's happening. It's also a great way to market your brand. We do allow advertisement on this app. And so if you really want to stand out, we do have a lot of digital opportunities to make sure that all the retailers know you're there. We'll skip this slide today. A quick touch on our media and partners. As I mentioned, not only do you see the best stores in the world at our events, but you also see notable press, so Business of Fashion, Forbes, Yahoo, Fashion Snoops, etc. Many brands receive great articles after the shows. They get write-ups, they get new eyes on them, and this is something that is great to share with retailers to get them to buy into your brand. And so a big positive thing is that French fashion is prestigious, as I mentioned, and it's something that gets picked up a lot. So don't underestimate the press opportunities that you can also get in this market and how powerful it is. Next slide, please. Top buyers, we can cover this in the upcoming slides, but we do have a wide range of international and domestic stores that come. Isetan out of Japan, for example, is one of them. We also have the department stores we mentioned. Anthropologie is another favorite. Urban Outfitters. Amy, can you continue, please?
Sure. Oh, you okay? I thought you meant move the slide. Go to the next slide. Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I'm coughing. So go.
You're
go
coughing. That's okay. I got it. Okay. So yeah, you can see all of the top buyers that are in attendance. And this is great because we have seen post-COVID, more and more retailers are attending. And the last show, it was really, really amazing how many in the last show cycle were coming. And everybody really wants to come back to the physical events. So that's really positive. So
you can skip this one, Amy.
Yeah, we'll skip that.
Okay,
and
so the individual shows, I'm going to jump into Magic because I mentioned as a result of many acquisitions that have happened in the trade show space in the US, we are now all one big happy family. But Magic is our trend-driven young contemporary apparel, footwear, accessories, home, and gift show. We have Magic in Las Vegas. We recently launched Magic in New York, and we also have Magic in Nashville. It's definitely more of an affordable price point. We still have a lot of contemporary and young contemporary apparel in Magic. So I think the understanding is that Magic is only fast fashion And it's only price point driven, but we do have beautiful contemporary collections that just happen to have a lower price point that do really well at Magic. Some of the retailers that you will see at Magic are ASOS, Anthropologie, Bloomingdale's, Macy's, and so 90% of the buyers that shop the higher end show Coterie also shop Magic. So we're also finding that a lot of retailers are mixing, right? They're not only focused on one price point, one segment. They may want to get some more affordable fashion, some more, lower price point products from Magic to blend in with the other more high-end and contemporary brands that they have in their stores. Project, which is my baby, my favorite. I started with Project 12 years ago, so I have a special love for this show. It's our contemporary men's and women's apparel, footwear, accessories event. We have Project in Las Vegas during Magic Fashion Week, as many of you call it. We have Project in New York, which is a smaller curated men's show that happens in January and July. And then we have Project in Tokyo, which is a contemporary event. A higher price point, definitely you're seeing at Project. Some of the brands that are there are Adidas, for example, Barbour, Hudson Jeans, 7 for All Mankind, Polo Ralph Lauren, Nautica, Superdry, etc. More commercial in Vegas, I would say, and a little bit more elevated in New York. Next slide, please. Coterie, which is where most of our French brands are, is our prestigious event that happens in New York every February and September. It's usually aligned with New York Fashion Week. It is our women's contemporary and advanced contemporary market. We cover apparel, accessories, footwear at premium to affordable luxury price points. We have now launched a destination in Miami, which is an offset of Coterie in New York. That show is similar to, I believe it's Splash, where we focus on swimwear. It's tied to Miami Swim Week, and so we are very focused on the resort market. It's a higher end show, small, curated. We have around 100 brands, and so it's a unique offering compared to our larger shows. Key retailers at Coterie are Beams, Bergdorf Goodman, for example, Bloomingdale's, Intermix. We have Merci there, Printemps, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Revolve, Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, the list goes on. We have some incredible brands, as you can see on the list here. Manouche is one of our favorites out of France. We have a wide range, and again, we merchandise the show by category. So we're constantly trying to make sure that we have smaller neighborhoods within the large event. Next, please. Sourcing at Magic. This is something that is actually launching in New York. So it's always been in Vegas and it's coming to New York in September of next year. It is where you would find information about manufacturers, suppliers, technology. Obviously, as a result of the pandemic, the supply chain has changed for many. And so sourcing is a destination where you can find solutions from all over the world. South Korea, we have manufacturers from the US, Peru, Colombia, the list goes on, and we're excited to bring this offering to New York. And I believe that may be the last slide. We're producing digital magazines, so not only do we have key press that covers the brands at the shows, but we're also doing our work to make sure that we're providing relevant content, that we're highlighting brands, especially international brands, at our events. So these are issues that you can access from our website to learn more about what we do. Okay, and the calendar of events, we'll share this presentation with you all so you can see, but our upcoming events will happen in New York for men's through Project, and then we go into February in Vegas, and a week and a half after we go to New York for Coterie and Magic. So it's a busy start of the year, and we hope to see you there very soon. Thank you all so much for taking the time and for allowing us to come and share. We will share our presentation with you, and we're always available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry about that. Thank you to both of you. My mistake. Actually, we will take just one question because in France we have to say that people must be starving right now. But basically, there is a question about is there a dedicated space for the sustainable and eco-responsible brands in agriculture?
We don't have a dedicated area. We try not to lump the brands together just based on their sustainable practices. We do like to merchandise. I just realized that I was on mute. Someone is unmuting me as well. Let me wave if you can't hear me. We don't have an area where we place all sustainable brands. We do like to merchandise each brand by category so the buyers can find you easily. However, we have partnered with an organization called Hey Social Good that is able to dig into a brand and really find out what their sustainable practices are. And they're also able to verify them based on different pillars and criteria that they've helped us establish. So we do highlight every brand that has a sustainable footprint. This could be social sustainability, so it doesn't have to necessarily tie to how your product is being made, but if you're able to fit into those criterias, we do highlight you on our app and we make it as easy as possible for buyers to find you. It is something that we're at. I will say that the sustainable brands do stand out.
Thank you very much. Actually, I think that we are going to stop now because of the timing. We are running out of time. Thank you very much for both of you, and thank you all the brands as well. Merci encore à tous. Je vous rappelle que Camille Descolonges se tient à votre disposition pour toute question complémentaire sur les différents salons du groupe Informa Market ainsi que la fédération. Nous serons ravis également de vous aiguiller sur les différents salons et sur les dispositifs d'aide sur ces différents salons. Merci, à très bientôt. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.